Okay. S- So, welcome all to the first of a series of online sessions that we're going to have about solid waste management from via Mumbai Donut Collab. Uh, for those of you who don't know about us, just a very brief intro. Mumbai Donut Collab is effectively a collective of working professionals in various sectors. The whole concept is based on the donut economics model, which has environment, economic, and social indicators on which cities can become livable and sustainable. Uh, Currently, we have the waste vertical ongoing, where we're working on solid and water waste. And this is the first of our sessions. We have about 30 partner members, ranging from consultants to NGOs to campaign groups to research organizations to large-scale private firms. The main aim of these online sessions is about really giving people an understanding about what it means to work in the Mumbai space in solid waste management, the challenges on the ground, and the solutions on the ground. These are not what I like to call GYAN sessions. We are not going to tell you about solid waste, about what needs to be done, but we are actually going to talk about how things get done, can be done, and need to be done specifically in the Mumbai context. And that's the aim of Mumbai.net Collab, making Mumbai more livable and sustainable. Um, so with us today are Natasha D'costa. She's had a little name change overnight from what you might have seen on the posters. It's not D'Souza. I blame AI. And we Natasha runs Startup Cycling Now, which is a company that's been in the solid waste field for over a decade now. She also has an NGO called Bhumi. Uh, Natasha works on end-to-end waste collection and now into recycling of plastics into paver blocks. She works with collects waste from close to about 15,000 households around Mumbai, some schools, and some other institutional buildings as well. Um, Kedar is the founder of Green Communities Foundation, which initially and still primarily is a rural-based organization working in over 500 villages in the Raigad district, collecting the waste and disposing of the waste. For the last 5 years, he has been working in the Ghatkopar slums uh, and really making a difference there. And he's here to talk about how we can target low-income groups, slum dwellings. Natasha will be talking to us about how to tackle residential and institutional waste. Um, so really, let me start off by asking you not about your, backgrounds and stuff, but what we see a lot is there are lots and lots of organizations, right, who want to get into waste management, like campaign groups, collection drives. Some want to do recycling, some want to do advocacy, campaigning. For y'all, effectively for y'all. Also, if nobody has objections, if you want to put your cameras on, that would be great so that we can put names to faces if you don't have issues, uh, privacy protection issues. That would be great. Um, what does it take to set up a solid waste initiative in Mumbai? Like, how would you go about it? And what is required specifically in terms of uh, legal issues, like what is required to get access from the BMC to be allowed to do something like this? Uh, how much space would be required if you need a sorting facility, for example? How many volunteers would you need for, let's take 1,000 households? That's a reasonable enough number. That's the size of a medium-sized slum. Say 15,000, 1,200 households. That's the size of, three or four big medium-sized societies or one large society. So what is required to really sort of get into that space? Because a lot of people we've seen startup get in citizens enthusiastic and then fail, because they didn't anticipate how much it would require to scale up, how much space would be required. And what we find is that disgruntles citizens. So how does one go about that?
Should I go? Okay. Yeah, so if we're talking about slums, actually, the amount of waste that they generate is relatively less. So I would say even a household of six people would produce just about
Natasha, it's
100.
slightly louder if you can. Please. No, let's take you as a residential thing. What was required to set up a waste management center for residentials?
So actually, I have come a long way. Initially,
Hmm.
when we did set up, initially when we got into waste management, we were only giving compost units as per the size of the waste
Uh,
generated or
sorry, Natasha,
generated.
can I just request you to speak a little closer to the mic?
Okay. Yeah. So can is this better? Yeah. Okay. Great. So I would say we've actually come a long way. When we initially set up in 2014, we were giving compost units to buildings, and the compost units were as per the waste generated by that society. So, say if it's a small society which has say about 10 flats, 10 to 15 flats, then the unit size was just about uh, 4 feet by 2 feet. That was just the compost tumbler, which was good enough for that. But if you're going to about 1,000 flats or so, right now you have nice units, but they would still take at least um, about 100 square feet to 200 square feet, depending on whether it's coming in a segregated fashion or a non-segregated fashion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kedar, uh, moving
Yeah.
from rural areas to slums?
Actually, we started work in the urban areas. I mean, in Mumbai, actually, and so I mean, if anyone has to set up a solid waste management initiative, then the first question is, okay, what part of the waste management problem you really want to address, right? I mean, because it's such a large issue. Now, are you focusing on just working with audiences to implement segregation, for example? Is that your is that the core problem you want to address, or is it you are concerned with the food waste and therefore providing composting solutions, or is it that you want to work with waste pickers, or the entire plastic value chain and so on, right? And so first, and that could depend on either the size of the problem, or what is it that you bring to the table in case you have some expertise, or if you have that inclination to work in that area. So it's a very when someone is starting this, it's a very entrepreneurial sort of a thing, right? So you should be very clear why you are doing something,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That is the number one thing I feel. And then based on uh, how you want to start, you want to start small or large, and all of that, you can try things out. Now that's where the key question is, do you want to set this up as a for profit or a not for profit, and all of that? Is there a business model you already have in mind, or you want to take it that way? You are looking at philanthropic capital to do something. So there are a number of variables involved in terms of what how someone would start an initiative like this, and
Okay.
that would determine your funding, your partners, how you go about setting up, and so on. So it's a fairly
Okay.
there's lots of things to
Wide. So
consider. Yeah.
wide field. So
Yeah.
going from that, so since
Yeah.
you guys have set up, you've been working for a number of years, what would you say are the top three challenges you faced in two ways, in actually implementing your programs and in scaling up? Like, what is the main, like you said, whether it's funding or whether it's space, what are the three main challenges that you found in actually implementing a successful program, and then scaling that up again in the Mumbai's context.
Um,
Natasha, you want to go?
yeah. So I think the main issues we had was, first is that the BMC said you should just put a compost unit in your building, and we by that, and that was in 2016, and that time we already had compost units, so a lot of buildings were putting in compost units because they had to. And then what happened after that was, uh, while they did it to tick that mark, right, they were not really happy to actually have a compost unit within their premise. So there was a big psychological factor which was completely omitted by the, by the government, that will there be an issue about this. And so it, like I would say, even till now compost units work where, where in those buildings where there is place for the compost unit to be a little bit away from the building.
Yeah.
Because in my line we've actually had to take out a compost unit because you say, when the committee changed, because they were saying, no, I can see the compost unit from my window and that will reduce the value of my flat. So that was a very big factor which, which no one considered. So that
Yeah.
was one thing. And then, sorry, your question was again.
If you had to scale up, like what are the challenges you found in scaling up?
Correct. So that was one of the issues for scaling up, when you were just putting units, that finally no one wanted a unit to be seen,
Yeah.
right? So that was
Yeah.
one issue. Then finally newer buildings came with basements, but then again basements did not have some either air, or like that, like there was no ventilation, proper ventilation, or even drainage for water. Those were two requirements for a compost unit to be there. So those some basic things which were not there. So these were some small issues we had while scaling up, and we were talking about putting in compost units.
Right.
And
So
then later on, we just went into the service of picking up the waste
mm,
and doing a decentralized method where we had our own waste management site, and we were picking up the waste and we were processing it over there.
right.
That was just so much easier because you were having less friction points with everybody.
Okay.
That was much easier to scale up.
Right.
Yeah.
Kedar, did you find similar stuff?
Yeah, see, the problem that I got introduced to about waste management was, look, we are generating 7, 8, 9,000 tons of waste. It is going to the dumping ground. And I had tried something at my own society where, we did segregation at source, on-site composting, and so on. So I figured you could in a very simple manner, prevent at least 70-80% of your waste from going into the dumping ground, right? And I thought, wow, this is straightforward, simple. It can be done so easily.
Sure.
But the biggest challenge I found was to find relevance for what we are doing. While it sounds important and while it sounds simple to do and so on, uh, it was not something which people, either communities who are generating waste, or be it the municipal corporation who was actually managing the waste. We struggled in the initial years to say that what we are doing is important and relevant, right? So that was our biggest challenge, because we were battling a legacy system, an existing legacy system which functions in a certain way. There is a method in terms of collection of the waste, how it is transported to the dumping ground. There's an existing ecosystem, right? Whereas what we were proposing is a totally different system, saying that, okay, there has to be segregation at source, there has to be on-site composting, it has to be decentralized. Whereas the legacy system is all a centralized system where you are picking up mixed waste, segregated waste, whatever it is, you're picking that up, you are dumping it somewhere. So that's the legacy system. So when we are saying, okay, no, 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 this is not right, there has to be a different system. According to me, that was the biggest challenge, and everything that goes along with it. Because any decentralized scientific system means that people have to do something different than what they are doing today. Right? Today, if I'm putting all my waste in one bin and the BMC is taking it away, if I have to be mindful about that, oh, I need multiple bins, it's it's something different I have to do. I have to be more mindful about how I'm disposing my waste. So the waste generator at that became the first hurdle, right? In terms of um, why should I do this? No, it's like, okay, what is wrong with the existing system?
So
Right.
if
And all of that. So
it,
basically all challenges stem from that core funda of, why are we relevant in the first place? Who wants
so
us?
so two things I'm getting from both of you is one is sort of top-down policies which do not reflect ground realities, have not been taken into account citizens, and citizen sort of reluctance to actually implement. Like in theory, everybody says, "हाँ, yes, composting ठीक है, हमें चाहिए," but when they actually see the bins and the effort, and then they're like, "No, no, no, now we don't want it." So not even in my backyard, but I don't even just want it. Like theoretically also, so, so how do you tackle that? Like, how have you now? Obviously, you all have both managed to scale up. You managed to get zero waste societies to, societies to segregate. You've got in the slums, you've got so many different of the um, mandals to join in to the small businesses. How do you go from working with the system which has these sort of not great policies? I mean, well-meaning but not great. Let's not say they're bad policies. Well-meaning but not really thought out. Um, but have you've actually managed to implement them? So, what is the key success driver that managed to help you get? Like, was it just pushing, just numbers of volunteers needed, lots of awareness campaigns, lots of funding? What was it?
So in our case, actually, we worked with buildings who actually wanted to make this happen,
Hmm.
because waste management is a two-way uh, cycle. Like, you have to give it to me properly so that I can actually process it. If
Right.
you're not giving it to me properly, then it kind of becomes reject in my hands.
Sure.
So we started working with buildings where they also wanted to become zero waste buildings, and
Right.
for that was one of the key buildings that we would choose to work with. All
Mm.
right, because everybody, as you said, everybody likes to talk about it, but
Mm.
to actually do it is a completely different ballgame.
And how do you get to those buildings? How did you was it word of mouth? Did people start approaching you? Did you have to go and find out, is this like, are you interested?
Occasionally, the BMC did have a lot of exhibitions, so
Mm.
that is where we met people. All
Right.
right, and then after that, it was word of mouth. I found word of mouth being way better than social media or just dial and all those services, because in Bombay you get a different variety of people, right? So
Yeah.
if you're looking at South Bombay, they kind of think that they can just make the waste and they are paying enough so that someone down there will do it.
Right.
And then you also have other, like the suburbs, where again people think that because you're staying in a house which is for like whatever few crores, again, and they have enough of servants, someone else needs to do it. But
Mm.
it's actually taken, I would say it's taken time for people to understand that it is also their responsibility
Sure.
to segregate the waste and give it.
Yeah.
And I think with all the hammering that has been happening over the last decade or so, now we are getting somewhat segregated waste. And the way to make it happen is you have these refresher courses in the buildings, again, to say, hey guys, your waste is again coming mixed up.
Mm.
We need to do this once more with you all. And then, yeah, and that basically gets the whole segregation. And that's been one of the big issues really that we've had.
Mm. How receptive are people to that? Like, do they like we've done awareness courses in societies where segregation not been happening or something? or the local corporation has approached them with CSR or NGO, then they're like, oh, we've heard this, but like you said, we don't have a solution. And they're like, oh, we are doing it. But when you actually go to see the waste or you do a waste audit with them, you'll find that yes, they do have 2 bins, maybe even 3 bins, but the waste itself is not segregated correctly. So
Correct.
it's segregated, but it's still coming in mixed. And then they were
Yeah.
like,
So again, as I said, like we work with buildings who would
hmm,
like to put in the whole segregation process in place,
right,
because again, you require two hands to clap to make this happen. You
sure.
really require citizens or like committees from the buildings to say, hey, I want this to happen in my building. And
Hmm.
I'm willing to put, like either get the housekeeping staff involved to check and see if actual segregation is happening or not. And then
Hmm.
also be the Hitler to say that, hey, if your waste is not collected, it is not segregated, I won't be collecting it from you, or you will be putting a fine,
Right, right.
right? And initially that is required, but it would be maybe for a very small amount of time,
Hmm.
because once the system gets set, then it kind of just works,
Right.
it
Yeah.
works. Then as I said, then you still require refresher courses, but it's still over largely it works well. But
Okay.
this segregation and requirement of committees to come on board is really important to actually have a breakthrough in that society.
Right. So going from that to you, Kedar, given that slums are a significant portion of Mumbai's demographic and space, and they do not have this sort of single association or managing committee to approach. Most slums have different segments, different sort of mandals kind of thing. How did you all tackle that? How did you all get them to come on board? I mean, who do you have to, what are the routes did you have to take?
So, see, as an organization, what we were trying to do is, create or put together certain experiments, right? So, be it at societies or be it a particular type of waste or a type of a community. So, we quickly realized that we are not going to be able to work with the entire city anytime soon. So, we said, okay, can we identify either communities or good officers? See, even the municipal corporation, of course, I mean, there are a lot of them, I mean, they are all doing their job, but at least some of them feel that no, there has to be some different approach, right? Or things can be far better than what they are. So you basically you identify the officers who can actually support any of your initiatives, or at least they will ensure that nobody is opposing what you are doing, right? I mean, so that's the approach we have taken. Take the approach of finding the path of least resistance. How do I get into a project and so on accordingly. Now, the interesting thing about slums and in parallel the villages that we work is they are the most deprived communities
Mm.
when it comes to waste management services,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the large societies, bulk waste generators, in general, they get all the good services from the BMC in terms of picking up garbage, right?
Mm. Mm.
Of course, internally they have people to do door-to-door collection. So, as such, unless you have a segment which is super aware and they know what is wrong with the system, in general, the societies, especially the large societies, they are very happy with what is happening, at least with their own waste. They
Yeah,
may have challenges with there is garbage outside, there is a lot of littering and so on, but
yeah.
at least for their own waste, most of them do not have any major complaints
Mm.
as such, right?
Mm.
But if you look at low income communities, um, then what you realize is that they are the ones who live with waste uh, in their communities,
Mm.
right? There is no away. Their waste stays in the community.
Mm.
uh, while there are schemes, nobody goes to their homes for door to door collection, or very
Mm.
few households receive door to door collection services.
Mm.
Then they are more or less left on their own. Now they have to figure out, okay, I have generated X amount of waste. What do I do with it? Right? Because nobody is coming to my home for collection. Then they figure out, okay, should I dump it in a community bin somewhere? Is there a nala nearby? I dump it, or on the roadside, I'll dump it, and so on. So, I mean, again, I can empathize with them because they don't have any formal system. So they dump it somewhere. Now, the advantage of working with such communities is, by and large, they are receptive to somebody coming and saying that, look, we want to work with you. Of course, there is a huge trust factor that needs to be established, but in general, they are, they could be more receptive if we are able to establish a connect and saying that, look, we understand what the issues are and so on. We want to solve your problem.
How do you establish that trust factor? I mean, do you
If
go in
I
through the local cooperator? Do you look at the
may I
local
interrupt? May I interrupt? Or okay,
Sure,
anyway,
sir.
I'll speak later.
Yeah, we'll take questions at the end, Sonal. We'll have a whole bunch of questions. We'll have a whole session for
No,
Q&A.
Kedar knows what I'm going to talk, so it's all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so see the trust part. Now again, it could be different for different communities, right? I mean, it could be through some kind. So first of all, just having a dialogue with them, right, and getting at least some of the key stakeholders in a room and understanding what their problems are. That could be one starting point. It's not that doesn't help you establish trust, but that's a good starting point. And then you have to do something, okay? And it could be just spending time there or doing something tactical. Like, for example, last year when we started a program at the slum, we just the schools were reopening, so we said, can we distribute books to the children? And it was not a very large amount, just 5, 6 notebooks and so on. So when we tried to organize a meeting with them, nobody showed up because they were like, okay, who are you? We don't trust. I don't know what you are there for, and so on. But a simple act like, okay, I am promising something simple and I'm delivering on it. Just that part helped us, in some ways break that ice and say, okay, maybe, okay, these guys, at least what they are saying, they are doing. Right. And that establishes a very simple, okay, let's at least listen to these guys and so on. And then they become receptive.
So being an actual physical presence, because this is something Natasha has also tried at schools, the plastic pickup and giving stuff back. How would you say, do you agree with what Kedar is saying, that people want to be there but don't show up, but you still have to just, like, if 10 schools promise but 5 show up, you still do it with the 5 and then hope to get the other 5 or 10 on board? How has that worked out?
So when we were trying to build up this trust, right? So we, as I said, I mean, we also have an NGO called Bhumi Recyclers Foundation, and when we were looking at building up this trust, what we found was things worked much better when we were talking from a school perspective, because like, just in the Indian mentality, you kind of respect what your teacher says, and so when it comes from school, it was just taken a little bit more seriously. And having said that, what we did is we worked with schools in the area for a period of 2 months, 2 to 3 months, where we started the collection of waste every week from the school, and then after that we spoke to them and asked them, after this 3 months was done, that would you like to join our blue bag project, so that your waste gets properly channelized. Because once you start the process of segregation, right, and once you've actually like doing this whole thing of giving it, and then we show them books, and we also give them recycled paper, books and pens, so they know, so they kind of understand that, okay, because we are recycling, some good items are being made, and it's not like going into the water, biodiversity, etc. So once you've started it, then you don't really want to go back, because you think now you're a better person, because it's like, as I said, there's so much of talk happening, And then when you're actually doing the action, then you feel, yeah, I'm a better person now because I'm doing this. So you don't really want to go back. And that actually has helped us make headway into the chawl area that we are working with.
Right. So that's interesting because, I mean, this is, and I think learnings from all of us who worked on community things is some form of return does help. Even if it can be as simple as recognition, local recognition, some award, some certification, uh, some in kind, but also money helps. And here I want to get into this because both of you, for those who don't know, both Kedar and Natasha's organizations also work with a company called Bintix, which basically collects data from uh, the waste generated, specifically from all the QR codes, scanning all the QR codes, and uses that data for various uses. But Bintix has a very interesting program called the Blue Bag Project, where households are given blue plastic bags with a QR code in them, and they actually pay for that. So, which is quite unusual in Indian context because we normally have to pay people to take the waste, whereas here there's a company willing to buy just your dry waste, whatever, but still willing to buy the dry waste for some amount. I mean, you're not going to end up being able to buy a Bitcoin with that money, but it's some money, right? So, how is that worked out for you? And like, did you all find people saying, yeah, this is something I want to do? Has monetary factor been something that has helped uptake? I know that, in environmentalism and being good for the planet and complying with legal laws and all of that is one side. But where there is some sort of benefit to the company, to the housing society or to a slum, there tends to be a little bit more of an uptake. So has working with Bintix helped you get access into more households because they feel they're getting money for it? And B, has that sort of data access to that, with the QR codes and all of that, has that changed the way you all work? And do you see a future of digitalization? And I'm asking this specifically because if people have seen the new SWM rules, there's a heavy focus on digital, having a portal up, all of it has to be, all the data has to be logged and mapped. And that's where we want to go. How is this helped so far? And where do you see the future of data with waste management working actually on the ground? Again, the concept is good, having data in a portal and all that. But as Natasha pointed out, OWCs in theory on paper and OWCs or compost sites actually on this thing. So data utilization on the ground, how has it worked? And how do you see that working with the new SWM laws with data portals and stuff?
So with respect to the 4 rupees per
Natasha, slightly louder.
with respect to the 4 rupees per kg that we are doing for the
Yeah.
project,
Yeah.
surprisingly, the what do you say? The complaints are the same across all sectors. Okay, like initially when we are starting it, everyone's like people are more receptive to it because hey, there is something coming in, all right.
Right.
But then again, complaints are the same, and this could be from chawls to like whatever, like 20 crore houses, right? Everyone says that initially that there's no place for the blue bag because it would take place in their flat. But I think the 4 rupees per kg just helps to get it into the society or even into the into the family discussion easier because there is you're getting paid for the waste. There is a tempo coming right up to your building to collect it, and that has definitely helped. And having said that, I think the what is working really well for societies per se, all right, is the fact that they can actually see that when their waste is picked up and we scan the QR code at our center, all right, they get updated that today 3 kgs or 4 kgs has come in. So that transparency in what has been picked up from their house and what we are updating on our system that today this has actually reached the warehouse, that has helped. Another thing which has really helped, and again, what I'm also seeing again is that you get to talk about something. So you get to talk about your carbon footprint. You know, the amount of trees you've saved, the amount of carbon dioxide gas reduced, the amount of methane gas mitigated, and people want to talk about these things. It's a different thing about actually doing the action every day, but they definitely want to talk about this. And for that matter, even societies feel really so when we are working with societies, like say on before 26th of Jan, we had given placards to various societies whom we've been working with, where like they've diverted more than 2 tons of waste over a period of 6 months or so. And they were really excited, like, wow, together we've made such a big impact. Because I would say at the moment, you are giving waste, you're giving waste to an NGO, you're giving waste to whoever, but you're not really seeing the impact that it has made over a period of time. So uh, this impact report, which gets generated, like we generate and give to the buildings every 3 months, this is something that they would like to talk about, and they would like to put up on their boards or WhatsApp groups, etc. And that's one of the reasons that they partake in the Blue Bag project. Whereas when we are working with lower income communities, they are happy when they are actually being able to finally withdraw that 100 rupees from the wallet. So once that 100 rupees gets withdrawn from the wallet, then they're very excited, and then more people are coming on board and saying, okay, fine, I got my 100 bucks. Did you get your 100 rupees? And that's working. They don't really care for the number of trees saved, etc., etc.
Sure.
But they are happy about two things. One is that the waste is getting collected from their lane. They don't have to go across the road and drop it off in the garbage bin. So that is one thing that they like. And the second thing is that of course they're getting paid for it. And in both cases, what's really really important is the consistency. And like we are consistent in our service. So every week, except maybe like for Holi or Ganpati Visarjan days, that's the only time it goes off. But otherwise, like the consistency also makes a big difference in getting people on board.
Did you find similar findings in the slum, Kedar?
So, what I feel at an overall level is that people want to be a part of a system, an organized, structured system, a transparent, predictable, consistent system, which benefits them in some way or the other. Now, in it could be reward points, some kind of a gift, or it could be cleaner drains. Like in our case, what they say is, you know what, our drains are cleaner because even so we pick up even the smallest of wrappers and textile waste, whatever it is, any kind of clean dry waste is what we pick up. So they have started telling us, look, our community is a bit cleaner now. Our drains are flowing a little better. I'm not saying we have solved the problem, but they see that. And because of that, in general, I feel everyone wants to be a part of a system, and then they need to be clear what I need to do, what the system will do. And this may give or take apply to even a society in some case, a slum, a school, and so on. If they feel that, okay, here is a structured system which benefits me and overall, and there is a tangible thing that I can see, I want to be a part of it. Or there is a likelihood that people will be a part of it. In the absence of that, if they feel they are doing something and the system is doing something else, which is contrary to what ideally should be happening, then they'll become cynical and they'll even stop what they are doing today. Right? So there has to be a narrative. There has to be a narrative saying that, okay, what is supposed to happen with the waste? Where are you in that relay race? I always describe this as a relay race, right? That, okay, you are part of a relay race. What is your role in that? Who are you going to pass the baton to? What is the role of the next person and the next person and so on? If they see that race functioning properly, of course, they'll run with all enthusiasm. If they see that somebody is just not picking up the baton and throwing it away, there you have it. I mean, then they just stop whatever they are doing. They stop being concerned about or being mindful about their waste. So I think that, like Natasha said, having a consistent system which benefits them in some way or the other, I think that helps.
Yeah. So since we're talking about them being incentivized in whatever way, let's talk some actual numbers if you all can share that. How much does it actually cost to for a program for both of you to be viable? Because again, I'm asking this because the BMC bylaws had uh, had put forward a user fee, right? Whatever it was, 150, whatever. And there was a lot of backlash to that. People were like, oh, we pay our taxes. Why should we have this? Is a mandate. You have to cover this. Whereas the BMC was like, no, our mandate is to transport it, not collect it from your door. But you all are doing that. You all are actually going door to door. So, again, through the years with inflation and all. So what do you think? Because people don't seem to understand when we go to them and say, we set up a whole segregated thing, and a company will go and say, but we are going to charge you. That's the sort of mental block that people seem to have. And they're like, oh, whatever, 200 rupees a month, which is not even a cup of coffee anymore, right? So what is the sweet spot that you all have found in terms of, say, user fees, or if it's not in the slum, or in terms of paying back, what are they happy with, getting in terms of that? And from that, sort of which sectors do you find to be, again, going back to people who might want to do solid waste initiatives, what are the sort of areas that you find, because you all do send it for recycling and you all do end up doing that, what are the sort of demographics that you find to be most um, revenue helpful? So is it housing societies? Is it the small businesses that may be operating in the slums? Is it restaurants, small, household restaurants, or, is it low income groups? So, give us some numbers. What would you charge from a household? What should people expect for their waste to be taken away and this thing, and what should they expect back? And where do you think you can, sort of really sort of make money from recycling? Because people don't seem to have an understanding of what recycling actually consists of. They just think it goes to some factory. But it's a whole, as we know, there's a whole process, right? There's a sorting center and there's a aggregator, there's a recycler. So walk us through sort of that step and what is required in terms of money.
So when we are working with societies, we work with societies having about 100 flats uh, and above, all right. And with respect to costing, the cost works between 100 to 175 rupees plus
Per
VAT
month, per flat.
per month per flat.
Right.
And this would be the minimum that is required in order to make this viable, because you're having a tempo to come and pick it up. You have labor to get pick up those bags, weigh it and put it inside the inside the tempo, then cart it to the center, and at the center then of course segregate the material. If it's getting composted, then segregate, shred, put it for composting, and the dry waste again to segregate, sort the dry waste out as per categories, and then process it further. One important thing, a lot of people inform us that maybe our rates are a little bit lower compared to the regular raddi vada, with respect to paper, plastic, cardboard. And what we always tell them is that your regular raddi wala is only taking the good material. The only, and again, there is also people have this thing that there's a lot of money in waste, and whatever, we are minting money, but that's definitely not the case, because what the solution that we are providing is basically an end-to-end solution, so that all your waste gets sorted out, right? And it's not only the plastic bottles, because you don't really generate that many plastic bottles in your house. But what you generate generally from your house is maybe about 50 to 70% of food waste, which has to be properly processed. And again, from the 30% of dry waste that you have, from that, about 20 to 30% of that will be a lot of those MLPs, the Lay's packets, your farsans, your groceries, the bhaji bags, and all of that, which is a big portion of the waste. And from that, you may get one or two plastic bottles, right? So that's what we try to tell your society, that we are taking all the waste. It's very important for you to segregate it, because only when it's clean, then we can actually recycle it. Because as a center, like we are processing about 5 tons every day, and then it's not possible to start cleaning and washing material if it is dirty. So if it's dirty, then it automatically becomes reject, and this is what we try to sensitize our societies that we are working with, that you need to give us all your waste. Because again, one other issue which happens when you are working with societies is they say, like, no one really cares about waste per se, right? So it's like, okay, your housekeeping is taking all the good material, then they just let it go because some chai pani is getting done and their costs are getting sorted out. So then you're taking only the bad material, and still you will have a society saying, no, you reduce the cost, reduce the cost. So these are things that we sensitize them. These are reasons why we can't reduce the cost. However, if you do give us the cardboards and the plastics, then we are happy to pay you for it. But again, it will still not be at the same level as your Raddi Wala, because he's only taking the cardboard and the plastic, and he's not looking at all the other waste items which need to get processed, treated, so that it gets.
And of course, because all the dry waste is also coming with the household waste. So, whatever the dust sweepings and pet hair and all of that, right? And so let's get this. Let me sort of recap. So say from about 5 tons of waste that you get or collect a day, about say 65% is food waste. So we're talking already about whatever 3,500 tons, 3,500 kilos of food waste, and you're left with about 1,500 kilos of dry waste, of which you can actually recycle only about 700. Yeah, 50% of that. So you're actually only ending up recycling about 700 kilos of dry waste from all that is collected. And most of that, the rest just goes into compost, because the only other option for food waste is turning it into biogas, which is again with Bombay is limited in space. So I think that's something people don't realize. People think everything gets recycled. They don't realize that how much of it is damaged, cannot be recycled, which has to maybe only get pulped, because like you're talking about cardboard, the Raddiwala will only take the clean cardboard. He won't take a cardboard thing which has been stained with, the masala from your Swiggy takeout order or a milk pouch or whatever, which will then just have to be pulped and gets you a lower rate. I think people don't sort of realize that. Kedar, again from at slums, did you find money a factor?
See, I have a slightly different approach to this. See, the thing is, I look at waste management as a reverse logistics business, right? Or a activity.
Right.
All the products that we buy, which is your forward logistics from your factories or farms to you, what people don't realize is that we pay a lot of money for the forward logistics, for stuff to come to us. Right. So let's say a 10 rupee item, whatever that may be, at least 3 or 4 rupees goes in your forward logistics, so that stuff can come to you. The inherent value is whatever it is.
Sure.
But we pay for it unknowingly, unknowingly, we pay for it because the brands charge that in their MRP. Now, when it comes to your reverse logistics, and okay, I've consumed the item and now I'm left with waste. What do I do with it? Now, then suddenly the concept of a cost and price and how much do I charge comes in, right? So the way we look at it is, look, there is if there is waste, then obviously there has been consumption, right? So somebody can pay for it. Either it's the brand, it's the consumer, the government, whoever it is. And in general, there is no lack of funding out there for, the reverse logistics, saying that taking this waste and, disposing it correctly, there is no shortage of funds as such. It may not be available to you, but there is no shortage of that fund. What we are trying to uh, show through some of our projects is what is the cost of not doing this, right? What is the cost of not segregating, dumping it, burning it, and so on? People don't make that connect at all. They don't feel there is any real cost of not doing it. If we are able to establish what is that cost of not doing this, like for example, people may not connect bad air quality to bad waste management, but there is a connection.
Yeah.
Right? Or the resources which are wasted and so on. So I can't put a number to the slum project, but basically somebody has to say that this is as important as material coming to you. It's important also that material which is sort of waste left behind is also disposed correctly. If not, there is a huge uncalculated cost to it. Then it could be philanthropy who's supporting it, users who are supporting it, brands who are supporting it, government who is supporting it. So we figure out then what is that optimal place to get that funding and therefore ensure the project gets done.
So from that perspective, and from the perspective of, again, the new laws where, BWGs you have to buy a certificate, or unless you process it on site, everything's going to be digital. One of the things we find when we go to residential societies is immediately sort of a turn around and say, okay, tackle the slums. For instance, give you an example about Kolaba and Kav Parade, Shiv Shakti Nagar and the Koliwadas and stuff. Same issue, right? The lanes, the alleys of the slums are so narrow, there's no possibility of putting in a bin anywhere. Collection is impossible. So they end up either going to the seafront, piche, and dumping it there. So if you actually can walk through, at the back, the whole of the Cuff Parade belt is just floating with flotsam, right? Or they come out onto the front part, which the sort of Badwar Park junction, and they dump it in the community bins, as you said, Natasha said, dump it on the main road. Now, the BMC can't charge them for that because you can't monitor it. You can't put up CCTV cameras and monitor that, whatever. They'll say, we didn't do it. And you can't let the garbage be on the road. So the BMC perforce has to pick that up, which they do 3 times a day. And, that's a lot of like this 5 to 6 tons a day being collected for free, effectively, right? So this is what, when you go to Kolaba and Kaf Parade housing societies, they're like, Pele slum code. We will do it. At least we are segregating. They're not even segregating. It's public littering. Tackle that. Under these new rules, how do you work around that? Like, again, with the trust factor and stuff, how do you get them to put that cost onto the slums? Like, how do you get that? Like, I know fines is like,
Fabian, after this, sorry.
yeah.
After this, maybe we'll take some questions.
Yes, that's like again, because slum waste is a huge factor, right? Public facing. How do you put that cost factor to people in low income groups, to people in slums, to say that this does matter? Because like you said, tangible, they're like throwing it in the water because they're like, the water's dirty anyway. What is it going to do? How do you get around that?
Maybe I can go for that.
Yeah.
So the thing is, first of all, we have to realize that when we are talking about a slum or that kind of a settlement, these are not destitutes. They are the ones who are consuming a lot of stuff. Like for example, I'll just give you a number. Last 6 months, from a community of about 500-600 houses, we have picked up 11 tons of dry waste. Okay, that's a humongous amount. Now, the other thing which we have realized is that when you offer a system like this, people are willing to pay. Thus, even the slum dwellers are willing to pay for a working system, is what we have experienced. And so it's not about charging them user fees. Again, I'm going back to the core issue. Is there a working system? And the BMC today spends a ton of money We'll not get into what happens to that, but they are spending a ton of money to for door-to-door collection at slums. The fact that it's not working is another issue, but it's not that money is not being spent. It's about again, every community may have its a way to implement something. What is the way? Okay, if a big bin can't go in there, can some other thing happen? So you need 100 experiments to happen to figure out, okay, what is that innovative way to do door-to-door collection. That's it. In the laws, it is very clear door-to-door collection of slums is mandatory. Okay. Now, what is that system is something one can easily figure out. The intent has to be there. Intent has to be there that yes, I will offer this community door-to-door collection. This is the system I will have. And of course, all stakeholders have to be there. The corporators, the BMC, the local chiefs, residents. I mean, literally, I mean, everyone has to sit on the table and have a common vision. If there is no common, today there is no common vision for waste management for a city like us. Everyone has their own objective. If you have a common vision, everything is possible, I think.
So one last question, and then we'll move to all the questions from the audience. Is since the whole concept of these sessions is about finding a solution to a landfill-free Mumbai, and again with the new rules coming into place and being applicable, from both of you, what is required, like from the BMC, from citizens? Like you said, Natasha, you've spoken about how you only worked with societies who wanted to do stuff. Kedar, you talked about having to go to them and establish a trust factor. So what is really required now over the next, say 2026, this is going to be implemented, or let's talk about till 2030 vision over the next 4 years, or 3 years for this current BMC elections. What is required? What is required from the BMC in terms of support, that citizens can tap into? What is required from citizens to comply with this? Volunteer campaigns, having meetings with cooperators, finding out from your local ward office. What do you think people need to do?
I think, just take off from where Kedar left, about the common vision. If everybody, that is not only the BMC who's making the rules, but even the corporators, the MLA, and the citizens want for this system, for these rules to be followed, and if we all say, yeah, we're going to follow it, only then it can happen. Because right now, what's happening is, like, say it's been happening since 2016, for that matter, since the rules came out. You have certain wards where the BMCs, like the people over there in the solid waste management, are saying yes, we're going to enforce these rules. And when they say they're going to enforce the rules, and all the buildings over there get letters that effective so and so date we will not be picking up your waste, so they go on the BMC site and they'll see these are the vendors, and they call up the vendors and they start taking services, right? The same thing is not happening in, say, a P North ward. It's not happening because over there they say no, but the BMC is there and the BMC is taking the waste. And then the other thing which happens is, say before your elections, all the corporators are saying, of course we will take your waste. BMC is someone's going to start charging for your waste? No, definitely. As long you vote for me, they will not be charging for your waste. So there's all these mixed things, right? So if we want something to happen, and we've all witnessed it, like whenever the prime minister is coming to Mumbai looks amazing. And this is the same BMC whom we are complaining about. They can actually like make it look amazing even overnight. So capabilities are definitely there, but the common vision needs to be there. So yes, if we actually need to apply the rules that have been that have come out, one is everyone has to be on board. And then from the BMC, yes, then they should be giving letters to all the buildings saying that effective so and so date, these are the rules that are going to be that as a society you have to comply with. When societies get that is a good letter to keep everybody in the society on one page, that okay, it's not because Miss Mehta or someone, Mr. Kumar, is environmental fan, we're not doing it for them, and we're not doing it for Natasha or Kedar for that matter, but we're doing it because we have a letter and we have to comply to this rule. So
Sure.
that's when everyone, like as a society, they start working together as a society and not fighting in between,
Sure.
right? So
Yeah.
then they come on board.
Yeah.
And then of course, even if the political will is saying, okay, now this is a rule and we have to all follow it, that's when these things can actually happen
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah. Kedar?
Follow the rules. I'll just say that yes, follow the rules in letter and spirit,
Yeah.
and have a strategy for the city, and then each stakeholder does what they are supposed to do. Even if
Sure.
we do 50% of that, I think we'll be in a better
Yeah.
position.
So one small solution that, briefly we had a chat with Kedar earlier, and he had mentioned this is things as a citizen you can do at a local thing is find out go to your local ward office. Do you know who is the person in charge of waste management? Who's the assistant engineer? Who is your local junior supervisor in charge of your particular area? The BMC has, people think that the BMC just works anyway. The BMC has everything mapped out. Their truck routes are there. The Mukadams have this thing. Everything is assigned. Everything is mapped. It all goes up onto a digital dashboard, which they track every day. So, walk into your local office, say that you want to know more, you want to help. The BMC always turns around, for that matter, any urban local body is like, we want to work with citizens. Citizens don't want to work with us, or they don't want to make that effort. So one suggestion is go to your ward office, talk, find out who your AA is, find out who your junior supervisors. They like to, also they like it when people are involved. And say you want to be involved. Maybe they have solutions, suggestions that you can help with. Okay, we'll halt there. This is a good start to how, working. We've got a bit about understanding about how much it costs to pick up waste for waste collection to be viable at a residential area level. We've got some idea about how much what it takes to get into slums and get them to start doing, and the benefits from both angles, which we can take forward. Let's throw it open to questions from all our participants in today. Just put up your hand and I'll call on you. Anybody? No, okay, we'll take a question from the chat then. Okay, Aditi wants to go. So, Aditi, you want
Also, Sonal had a question, right, while we were having the discussion. So maybe you want to ask her.
Is Sonal still here?
Namrata is also
Namrata, Namrata, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I have recently started an NGO with waste management, and it's a Section 8 company. I'm otherwise in education, but now as second inning of my career, I want to do waste management, and I have done some courses also. But now the problem which I'm finding, how to dispose reject waste. So how do these people dispose reject waste? Because I have heard that these waste management who are the people who are taking waste from societies, they are burying reject waste, so which is very shocking. So wanted to know, is it same with these guys also?
No. So there is for specifically sanitary waste, diapers, and so on. There is a good service which R Nisarg, the organization, they have implemented across the city. Maybe Fabian, you can share this details with the entire group. So there is a pickup every day across all wards and so on. The community has to segregate their sanitary waste, diapers, special care waste, and so on, and they offer a free pickup from all the societies. So I think that is something which is really remarkable, which has happened. Not too many people are fully aware of this, but I think more and more societies should take the benefit of this kind of a service. So we'll share details.
So I'll tell you why that happens, Namrata. Why that happens is if the waste is not segregated. Now, by law, even by the 2016 laws, when you had to segregate in wet, dry, and sanitary, now there are 4 streams. Earlier, there were 3 streams. if you mix in that waste,
Yeah.
in the reject waste in with your dry waste, as Natasha said, most of that is not recyclable. Technically, that has to go to the incinerator or the hazardous plant, which companies run outside of Mumbai. But given the margins, as Natasha has spoken about, given the low margins in collection, if you've already got that and people haven't segregated, it is no longer financially viable for then the NGO to sort it, spend time with labor who you're charging to sort it, to put it in a truck, and then send it on to the
Yeah.
hazardous, right? So uh, that happens. But Natasha can maybe talk a little bit more about society reject waste.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about society reject waste, I'm talking about the plastic waste which is dirty. Okay,
No,
because
no, no, no.
that
She's
forms,
talking about the sanitary waste.
yeah, that
Yeah.
forms a big part of it. Is that the waste you're talking about, Namrata?
Yeah, I'm talking about all reject waste like broken thermometer, knife,
Yeah.
you know, children also put the stapler pins. So much of reject waste is there, which is hazardous.
Yeah. So under the new rules, that has to be segregated. Now, hopefully, the municipal authorities will start enforcing that. There are four streams now, which under the
Yeah,
new
yeah.
government rules.
I read. Yeah.
As Kedar said, if it's about sanitary waste and all, if you live in a housing society that is a bulk waste generator or an institute, you're part of an institution, a school, or college, the
Hmm.
yellow bag system is in place. There's a portal with the BMC. You simply have to go register there. We'll share the link. They will come and give you these special yellow bags in which all of this waste should be put, and it should be and they will come and take it away free of cost and then take it to a special plant where it is incinerated. So
Hmm.
what you can do is push for that awareness
Yeah.
in that housing
Yeah.
society who are you working with, ensure that waste is segregated at source so that it can then just simply be taken away.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Yes. Aditi, you had a question? Sheila.
No, sorry, it was my mistake.
All
I
right.
think that.
Okay. I don't think Sonal's around. Okay, so I'll throw in a question. What is needed? One of the things we've spoken about is the government. We've spoken about citizens. We spoke about NGOs. What is required from corporates? Like companies have a huge presence in Mumbai, right? Whether it's their office buildings or the number of employees they this thing, all these new office buildings, etc. A lot of them have CSR funding, and a minuscule proportion of that seems to go to waste or even funding innovation in waste. The one thing that was there was the Safe Cities, which HDFC has done. What is required? Where can corporates step in? Like, what are programs that they can do as an entity in terms of funding, or even for their employees, even as a system, like a culture in as a corporate culture? How can corporates step into waste management?
So right now, actually, we are doing quite a few programs for corporates on sensitizing staff on putting in systems within their campus on
Mhm.
waste management, which is from just regular segregation, e-waste collections. These things have been helping. We've also do book drives where we encourage the staff to get books which they are not using, do a book swap. These are things that we've been doing. But but more than that, what I would say is another very important thing is for especially corporates who like HLL, Procter and Gamble, in the FMCG area, okay, to also take care of the cleanup drives, because whenever you're doing cleanup drives, right, there's a lot of plastic waste, primarily plastic, and of course you also get textile waste. But these are the two waste which come out, and if they could actually come on board to, because it's their waste which is finally going into the sea, right? And not really getting degraded. So if that waste can actually get, uh, if the MLPs have a slightly higher value, or some payback over there, then that will also fund the cleanup drive so that it can go to the proper center, because a lot of times after the whole cleanup drive is happening, it's going to the landfill only.
So
Yeah.
it's not about the cleanups alone, right? I mean, here we are talking about a larger issue of extended producer responsibility, and we can have an entire session on that. But the fact is that I was speaking about forward and reverse logistics. Reverse logistics is also a part of their responsibility now, which they have not come to terms with. And so they are not doing even a fraction of what they ideally are supposed to be doing. So I don't think CSR should ideally be needed for waste management. It's largely the responsibility of the brands who are responsible for generating the waste in the first place. The law states that they should be supporting systems for collection. Right now, a minuscule amount of that fund, which is a business fund, it's a business expense for the brands. A minuscule part of that is actually going for all the collection, and then we run around with philanthropists and CSR and so on. Sorry, I mean, when I say corporates, it's the brands who are ideally supposed to set up those systems. But, unfortunately, we haven't tightened those systems strong enough. If that happens, if they put in as even 1/3 of the effort that they put in forward logistics, ensuring that we get material at your doorstep in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, right? If they even spend a fraction of that in reverse logistics, we'll solve the problem overnight. Okay.
So public pressure. So write to your favorite brand and tell them to.
No, it'll require a little more than that.
Yeah,
I mean,
but we can start there. As a citizen, take part
sure.
in groups, corporate, pressure
Absolutely. But yeah,
campaigns.
it'll need the pollution control board to tighten their norms and all of that. But that's like I said, it's a longer conversation.
Okay. Lakshmi, you want to come in?
Lakshmi, you need to unmute.
Yeah, hi. So actually, I did visit the A ward office, which is where I live, on Tuesday. And like you said, Fabian, the people, the BMC officers are very, very willing and actually look forward to citizens coming to, help them do their work.
Yeah.
But the one thing that came out at the end of that meeting was that they said that there's too much interference from the politicians. Has anyone else faced that? Or I hope that's just a ward problem and somehow we have to deal with it.
Everywhere. That's the interference from politicians is everywhere.
Yeah, so then we have to address that. We have to figure out how to sort of, I feel we should work with them also, whoever our elected corporators are right now. But
initially what I was mentioning, right, that we face the issue of relevance, like what we are doing. How is that relevant for the overall system? So there's a certain legacy system, right, which benefits certain entities out there. I'm not getting into details, but there is conflict of interest here, right? Because we are trying to do something else. So obviously some existing people are, not happy potentially with something like that. So that's a much larger issue. And of course, I mean, if the city overall decides and so on, and citizens can, of course, a sufficient number of citizens put in pressure, then I think things can change. But yes, this is an issue not just of
I think also the pressure, the interference from politicians can also come because they feel that because they've been elected, there's a certain mandate and it should be a particular way. But we have found that if you approach them and they are genuinely well-meaning, if you go to them and showcase a solution that has worked and you have enough support to implement that solution, they are willing to at least listen. Because at the end of the day, they do represent citizens. So Kedar's right. You have to get everybody onto the table together.
I agree, but okay, at least for the last 4 years, we've not even had corporators.
Yeah, so I think now is everybody should be setting up meetings with the corporators.
Correct. I agree. And I'm hoping that, now it will be smoother because I felt that even when I attended some other meetings, that BMC's hands seem to be tied, by the politicians because I think the officers themselves are quite well-meaning and they actually want to do a
Yes.
honest day's work.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Agreed,
I think you'll
totally.
find that
Totally
in
agree.
any urban local body that tends to be the case because we started off with talking about top-down approaches, and that tends to be, politicians make mandates and then the people implementing it get stuck. But there are ways forward. I'm going to jump to Preeti.
Sorry, just on that, I just want to add though that when
Yeah.
you talk to the politicians, they'll give you the opposite story, right? They'll say, look, we tell these officers and these workers do it, they will do for one day, then they won't do. They're the ones collecting the bribe, they're taking the hafta.
Mm.
So so I think you will find that the reality may be either somewhere in between, or it may vary based on which place or which issue you look at, right? Somewhere you've got better officers and not as good politicians, and sometimes the other way around also. We shouldn't go back with a whitewashed, like, good versus bad,
Yeah.
sense either.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it does depend. So we build up localized uh, centers of excellence, so to speak, areas of excellence, and then try and converge that across the city to have a city-wide approach. Preeti, hi.
Yeah, hi. So, I know all of you are doing amazing work, there is no doubt, and all of us are trying actually at our level best, whatever solution we can give it to solve the macro-ish problems.
Yeah.
Now, the small thing what we did I am from Bangalore, so in
Yeah.
Bangalore we did it in one of the apartment complex. Now, this was a tough job what we did, but this was, I mean, it's a very different angle of looking at waste what we are looking at today. Uh, so we started imposing, I'm telling imposing because there were a lot of resistance from each resident. But yeah, we started imposing every house to compose their kitchen waste.
Mhm.
Now, it was like, I will tell this whole story in a very short. We just have to understand the behavioral change what the entire society has gone through. So this was before COVID, and we started imposing it. The first step for imposing was to give them the composter on their door.
Mhm.
So we just gave composter on your door. I said from 5th of June, that's Environment Day, there will not be any pickup of your waste, wet
Mhm.
waste. And we started going to every house at their convenience. Maybe it's 10 o'clock in the night or morning 6 o'clock or weekend. So they had no other go other than listening to our lectures, how to compost it. Now, they went through their own process, experiments. So all of ifs and buts were there. Stink hota hai, badboo aati hai, मक्खियाँ आती हैं, we don't have place, it's an apartment, इसमें balcony है हमारे पास, we don't have place to, I don't know what to do with the compost. So all that ifs and buts with so many questions, we could clarify their doubt. And ultimately 5th of June we said, okay, we are going no waste collection as of now. The reason was there was a nearby river flowing, which all the waste were getting collected and was getting thrown into that river. Now, for that, all the residents did support. They knew what they had, no other go. So, but now it's been 8 years and everybody is composting. People who
Amazing.
used to, say, मेरे घर में बदबू आ रहा है, how come there's no collection, people have come and all that story. So
Sure.
now they don't crib, now I mean, after they learned how to compost it without any messy kind of thing, to senior citizen, we gave the helping hand also to mix and all that. Uh, and after that, nobody wants to share their compost also. So we thought we'll
Mm.
take the compost for our common area. So people who have a farm, they started collecting their compost for their farm. People started gifting compost for others' farm to the friends. And this people who didn't like gardening, they started growing thoda dhania, thoda pudina and all that in their garden. So, and some people, they walked out of the community. Wherever they went, they started teaching composting to others there. So,
Amazing.
this was a permanent behavioral change, what I see.
Yeah.
When and this was so helpful during COVID time because nobody was there to help us out. And people who had initiated composting in their community, when there was no help, they had to literally go and collect the waste from others' house.
Yeah.
So it was a burden. So this was a behavioral, and I feel these little change, those who are here, who are doing at a very small level, we can definitely initiate this and start taking the small micro step to handle the macro problems,
Yeah.
whatever every city is
Yeah.
facing. So
And I think that comes back to what Kedar has said, and I think a lot of us who work in this space
yeah.
have realized is that people do want to participate, but if you give them the platform and the solutions. So if
Yeah.
you go to them and say, we've taken care of everything, ye hai, kar lo, they will say, theek hai, we'll participate. So if you give them the composter and show them how to compost, yeah, they'll take it. There'll be a little bit of whatever, but yeah. If
When
put
can
them
you
up-
move to Mumbai, Preeti? I mean,
Yeah.
I've been asking the question for a few years now.
Yeah. Shweta, you got your hand up.
Yeah.
No, but
So,
Ritina, that's amazing.
is
You're right.
this
You
is
have to get people, offer them. Sometimes it's as simple as getting them to giving them the compost and dipping into your own funds and just finding it. Sometimes it's ensuring pickup is going to take place. Paying them with a blue bag. There are various ways, and people do get say that nothing's happening, but part of this series is showcasing that success is happening.
yeah.
People have to put that in scale. Mumbai is a city of 20 million plus people,
Yeah.
right? We have, the Mumbai Donut Collab members are collectively or indirectly reaching out to at least a million of those. So
Yeah.
work is happening at some scale. Uh, and there are various avenues to go through it. But yes, amazing. So that's if you guys are thinking about it, maybe that's a way forward for those who are listening in today.
Yeah, those who are doing at small scale, I think it's a good to go to neighbors. You can
Absolutely.
have this
Yeah.
I mean, some kind of kitty party and sit
Yeah.
and teach them without making any mess. You can do it.
Sure.
And it's very effective when we do it at a smaller scale.
Yes.
Though we are also working with landfills and all that
Yeah.
issues we are solving with bioenzyme. That is
Correct.
secondary thing.
Yeah.
But this is, I felt when you're talking about the community and the large scale bulk generators, these are the few models which can be adopted, and the garden waste can always be composted in the compost.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Shweta?
Preeti, did the society give composters to every
yeah,
household?
Yes.
I had a fight with our builders to provide the composter. I said, this is your duty for it. And after that, my struggle starts for training them. So
Yeah.
I made it compulsory because
Yeah.
people will not invest. They don't like that
Yeah.
investment, maybe 3, 4, 5,000 also. They wouldn't like to do that.
Yeah.
So we had to take that first step, and that worked.
Yeah. So Shweta, yeah, you had a question?
Yeah. So one is, of course, I want to say something about Preeti. She's very persistent also, okay? So just
Yeah.
don't take it lightly that
Sure.
she did that and it just worked,
Yeah.
right? So the question I had was completely different. I had a question for Natasha and for Kedar. Is there any policy being made for the MLPs where they should not be making these MLPs at the production level itself?
So, 2016 rules said plastic waste management rules said that multi-layer plastic was supposed to be phased out by 2018. Okay, that was the rule.
Okay.
There was an amendment. Obviously, I mean, the FMCG companies must have got a shock of their lives, right? I mean, if they don't have to use MLP, then, so obviously they lobbied and so on. And now the rule states that so the amendment was that you can continue to use MLP as long as it is energy recoverable. Okay, which means that you can burn it for energy, like waste to energy. And so that remains, and I don't think anyone is going to anytime soon question that. So basically, if it has calorific value, it can be made.
What
That's
about the
what.
toxicity? What
Well,
about the toxicity?
no, so there is no talk about that. See, what I'm saying is that I don't think anytime soon. In fact, the solid waste rules state that RDF is a compulsory thing now for the boilers. So they need to have 6% of fuel coming from non-fossil fuel sources. So they are now looking at all the non-recyclable stuff being converted into into waste to energy. It goes into the waste to energy kind of a stream. So they have kind of formalized that. So I don't see anytime soon, MLP is going away unless we have a viable another packaging alternative, which I don't think is there today.
Actually,
Thank
it's
you.
too soon to start talking about toxicity
Yeah,
because no one wants to talk about it. The first thing is they just want this product to be there, and the
right.
only thing they want to talk about is waste of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think one of the things is, because there is just so much of MLP that everybody is trying to find, and you don't obviously want to burn it. Everybody's trying to find ways to reuse it and reutilize it. Natasha and Kedar are also looking at that because you either store it or you have burn it or you try and reutilize it. The industry it's now getting to the inflection point where there's enough investment in products that are dependent on NLP that the MLP is not going to go away anytime soon. Preeti, hi.
Hi. So I had a question on this new waste stream, the exotic ones, compostable items. So how is Kedar and Natasha handling that part of it?
Compostable items.
Yeah, so we have all these now new compostable bags from the e-com players coming in and other compostable products. So what do you tell your residents and how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So the bioplastics, Preeti, is it's again another big topic where there's a lot of ambiguity also over there. There are certain brands whose material actually compost within a particular period of time, say within 90 days, which is fine. But then there are other brands whose plastic does not compost within 90 days. So we are very picky on who's like at least when I'm working with corporates, I'm very picky on which plastic I want to compost because if all the items inside the bioplastic is not compostable, then it's not going to degrade. But a lot of times people, like a lot of companies, it is just partially there, so it will disintegrate but not completely. And the right now the rule is that it should completely biodegrade within 90 days, but there are very few companies who are actually adhering to this 90-day um, bioplastic decomposition.
No, it's a very complex kind of a topic, and see, there are multiple standards out there. Okay, there's no one product which is there. Now, most of the products they need industrial composting facilities with a certain temperature and so on. Nobody has that. The Mumbai does not have that
That's
facility.
exactly what I want to check because they
Yeah,
are saying industrial composting is
composting
something
and
which
so on.
will
It
work, and
doesn't
we don't have facility. I don't think just Mumbai. I think a lot of
anywhere
either
that
in yeah.
so it's a half-baked idea firstly, because the other thing where it is actually backfires is, see, for a waste worker and so on, they are not going to start reading, okay, is this plastic bag compostable, biodegradable, or just a normal polythene bag, right? Now practically what happens is that people, the waste workers, sweepers, whoever it is, they land up, they think, okay, it's a bag, it's a plastic bag. They'll segregate that into plastic in general. Nobody is doing this fine sorting. Oh, this is compostable, this is biodegradable, and all of that. We haven't reached that level at all. Now, practically what happens is, so let's say it's a compostable bag. Now, if it goes into your normal recycling stream, it will contaminate the plastic as well. So you are kind of, actually it backfires. So to me, well, it sounds nice. We all feel, oh, it's a compostable bag and so on. But it's like I said, we haven't thought through the entire thing. Okay, if it is compostable, who's going to pick up that compostable bag separately? What is the reverse system to pick it up and so on? So to me, it's yeah, I mean, it's one of those products which doesn't have any kind of it's not relevant today. It's not, yeah. It's anyway. Thankfully, it's very expensive, so nobody's buying it.
Yeah.
In fact, Preeti, on that note, I in fact tell societies not to use the biodegradable compostable bags,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
for two reasons. Actually, one of the main reasons is that when it comes in contact with water, the its holding capacity is very low, And so then when your housekeeping staff is holding it, it's giving way. So then it kind of defeats the purpose of being a bag only,
Right.
right? So, and then of course, then the whole other topic is about whether it will actually compost in 90 days or not.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a takeaway. If you're in a housing society or you have access to citizens groups, push against these bags, and at the best, if they are going to use bins, bin liners, use the normal ones, which there are ways of getting around that too, but that's for another day. Rachna, you have a question.
No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to add on this that the so-called compostable bags have nothing but between two PVC bonds, they have one oxygen in it. And when that breaks, it still leaves plastic in the soil. So it's
Yeah.
really not a compostable bag.
Yeah, yeah. Preeti, hi.
Yeah, hi. So I just wanted to add something in this. I know the plastic is creating a lot of chaos everywhere, and because of that, people have started hating it. But we need to understand that the plastics are polymers and it's a byproduct of petrol. So जब तक हमारी गाड़ियाँ चल रही हैं, जब तक हम लोग fly कर रहे हैं, there is no other go other than putting proper system of recycling everywhere.
Sure. And
So
I
there
think
is,
that's a lot of what the work
yeah.
of our members also focuses on. It's like plastic is not going away anywhere.
Yeah, it
But
will
we
not
can
go.
focus on the good plastics, the ones
Yeah,
that are absolutely required. You don't take away plastics, half your airplane will disappear,
yeah.
right? So we have to also target these sort of not in some false solutions, but also not thought through solutions about which are working. But okay, if this has been a good start to this series. I think we've had a lot of takeaways from uh, both our uh, speakers today. One is that you have to create a trust factor with whoever you're, going to work with, whether it is directly landing up at trade shows, finding out local contacts to introduce you, uh, but ensuring that you actually have a solution that you can implement uh, consistently, properly, and can scale up, which is essential, which we find fails at a lot of levels. One is be prepared to pay for your waste, whether you're going to give it away, process it on site under the new rules, have somebody come and pick it up for you. But also there are ways of getting some money back, some incentives back in terms of maybe recycled plastic products like benches or paver blocks or uh, textile waste offcuts and bags and some things like that. Citizens really do need to engage more, uh, either with their own neighbors or with the local corporators, with the BMC. Push corporates to make changes where you see. So if you have overdone packaging, put it up on Twitter, try and get a signature campaign. Corporates are very sensitive to pressure. If they feel people are going to stop buying that kind of stuff. Um, Data is going to be the way forward. A lot of data is being captured. So if you can do it at your level, get into the system now while these portals are being done. Talk to your local BMC or officials. They do want to engage with you. They are willing to talk. And lastly, there are a lot of solutions out there, genuine solutions out there. There are companies, there are NGOs who are doing actual work on the ground and meaningful work on the ground. So while in the overall scheme of things on a day-to-day, you walk out of your house and you see the road and there's garbage and landfills and stuff, it can seem depressing, but we are making strides and we are making dents into that problem. Uh, there are lots of solutions out there in the market. We will be tackling them through this series. And of course, as part of Mumbai Donut Club, in this year, we are going to be looking at coming out with a white paper, looking at coming out with a directory of providers who can offer these solutions. So if you are an NGO that is coming up with products or are doing campaigns, do write into us. message us. We will be creating a directory for citizens to come into contact. You can contact them. And we will be trying to have some more of these community meetings physically so that we can get in citizens to talk directly to officials in charge, to politicians in charge. So don't give up hope. That's our message. It's a lot, but there is a long way forward. So you have to be persistent and consistent. And thank you all for joining today. Hope this has been on use. We will be, for those who've registered, we will be sending Natasha and Kedar's contacts to you all, along with a presentation of their work they've done. So if you want to contact them for their services in your housing society or in a nearby thing, there are some members, attendees who've mentioned that they are have their own NGOs and startups. So do drop in that line. We'll put that on an email as well and take it forward.
Fabian, may I have the last word?
Yes, of course, Shweta.
Yes. So what I want to say, of course, plastic, keep it away from your food. That's the only thing. Like you cannot do without plastic, but you can do without plastic in your food. So use glass and all of those things. But I just want to take a minute, especially thank Kedar and Natasha for helping us, coming in here, sharing their experiences. And also Fabian for doing such a wonderful job on behalf of Mumbai Donut Collab. We thank everybody on this call. I'll just take a minute. And if everybody can turn on the cameras, we can do a picture. Anybody who can, please do so. So we'll just do a quick picture. Any pictures, cameras? I see cameras coming up. Brilliant. All right. So thank you very much. Are we ready? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. And everybody have a great evening. Look forward to the next meeting. And we had people all over the country. It's not just Mumbai, right? That was good.
Thank you.
Our next session, our next series, we will be having these online series. You will be message them. As part of Mumbai Climate Week, our next event is on the 10th. It's in Thane. We're doing an on-site visit to a wet waste processing and a dry waste processing plant. On the 12th, next Thursday, Manas and Shweta will be having a online session about Mumbai Donut Collab. The concept of donut economics and Mumbai Donut Collab and what we are trying to do as a collective. On the 16th of this month, we are having a on-site visit to a biogas plant in Sivri, Sion. All of this will be up on the Mumbai Climate Week website. We'll also be posting about it. Please do feel free to join. Registration is free, attendance is free. Wherever you can, please join in. And this monthly session will happen monthly. The next month we'll be talking about, Manas and Shweta will be talking about Mumbai Donut Collab. In the next one, we'll be looking at wet waste and wet waste solutions and what we can do with our wet waste. And we'll be talking about dry waste solutions, recycling, etc. So experts.
And we also have WhatsApp group. We have a WhatsApp group
called Wasteless Mumbai, which is an open citizens group for anybody to join and anybody to add. The most mundane questions and the most complicated questions, we welcome them. Where we can, we try and find solutions, help you connect with people who are doing work. You can post about your events there as long as it's related to waste, whether it is a cleanup drive, bioenzyme solutions, recycling, school programs, awareness workshops. You're welcome to join. And we'll put that on the link as well. Thank you all so much. Thank you for those who've joined from outside Mumbai and sharing your questions and your solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.